Assalamu alaikum. In the videos that I've posted, I've discussed some of the issues that we should try to, avoid and fix in our day-to-day lives and understanding of religion. But I wanted to kind of really not make the same mistake that a lot of people make when they criticize without giving solutions. So if I think that there is a solution which will probably be a long-term solution that will, fix the way that we are today as far as ummah and as far as Muslims in the 21st century. I think it's probably gonna that solution will need three things to happen. The first thing that we need is to move the center of our deen back to the Quran and away from the hadith. The problem with the hadith, which basically became the deen that we practice today to a large extent, is that it became really infused with customs and adat and ways of doing things that makes us go back to the ayah that وَجَدْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. That's how our parents used to do things. Even though Allah says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُ مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. If they are told follow what Allah said, they say no, we follow what our parents have been following. And that is really critical, because if you don't really fix that, then we are really not just dealing with these problems, but we're actually disobeying Allah. And the problem that sometimes somebody like me faces when they say this is that you have this backlash of people saying, wait a minute, are you saying that sunnah is not important? Nobody says that the sunnah is not important. Of course, we love our prophet, but it's not really about trying to show this fake love, because Allah says in the way that you follow the prophet is to تتبع اتبعوني يحببكم الله. Allah wants you to follow the prophet as a Rasul, so he can love you because you are following the prophet, and following the prophet not as a human being in the sense of how he used to sleep and how he used to eat. We waste too much time on that. It's about the values, about the risala, about what the prophet came with, about social values, about freedom, about all these great things that this deen, tawheed and adam al-shirk. Sometimes we have to be careful, because we sometimes fall in the shirk al-khafi, the disguised shirk, because we do this sort of passionate we want to brush our teeth the way the prophet used to brush his teeth. And we are in the 21st century. You don't need the suwak. You really don't. I mean, I'm tired of really saying this, because if you really wanna, if you love the prophet, you have to follow him in the way that he lived his life and implemented the deen. Now, the problem is that if you do not do that, then you kind of create this tension with the next generation, where they think that you're out of touch with reality. And that's why when you see people sometimes dressed to emulate how people dressed in Saudi Arabia in the 7th century, you can dress that way, but that's not from the deen. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. You dress whichever way you want, okay? That's not the point, so long as it's within the urf and that is acceptable by society. But the problem is that we started moving the center of this deen from the Quran to the hadith, and we don't realize that the hadith started really being written almost 200 years after the Prophet ﷺ. So what happened in those 200 years in between? There was no deen. What about the ayah, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا? The Prophet, received this ayah in Hajjat al-Wada' that today your deen is complete. We kind of run the risk of, forgetting that the center of this deen is the Quran. And if you have a problem with that, then you have to go back and really question yourself and question your iman, because ما على الرسول إلا البلاغ. Rasul came to bring us this deen. You follow his sunnah in the way that he, sunnah rasuliyah, not the sunnah in how the Prophet slept and how he ate, and this really is not gonna change anything, and you become like a robot. And I will say it that way. Some people might have a problem with that, but this is why we are becoming followers. We are not inventive. We don't have the freedom to think, because we are just obsessed with being followers. The second thing that we have to do is to really go back to that. One of the lectures that I posted is about tahrim. We cannot have this mentality of everything is haram and everything is not acceptable, and this is haram, and we tell our kids that they cannot listen to music because it's haram, and they cannot put a picture in their room because it's haram. There's so long as you listen to music that it's clean, without the badha'a, without the nastiness that any social norms would abhor and not accept, then music is fine, art is fine. Otherwise, we cannot be creative. And the third thing that I believe is very important is that we stop allowing the shuyukh to be our thinkers. Shuyukh could be very relevant as muqimi sha'air. A lot of them, give their life to hifz al-Quran, and that's part of the deen in iqamat sha'air. But the deen is not only about sha'air. The deen is about sha'air and also about qiyam, and it's also about mu'amalat. So I'm not going to accept that the thinkers for our society are going to be shuyukh, because we have two problems in that respect. One, اسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. That ayah, first of all, came in Surah Al-Anbiya and in Surah Al-Nahl about asking the Yahud and the Nasara about the dhikr that they got before. So it was not about asking the shuyukh for solutions for your life. Okay, that's not what it's about. It was ما أرسلنا من قبلك إلا رجالا نوحي إليهم فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. So Allah is telling the Prophet that if anybody has any questions about dhikr, they can go and ask the Yahud and the Nasara. But in the meaning of the الإعجازي, if you want to call it, I'm sorry, not الإعجازي, المجازي, the I guess hypothetical sense, you can also ask the experts in their field. Okay, if you want to ask about science, you can ask a scientist. If you want to ask about a legal issue, you ask a lawyer. If you want to ask about archaeology, then you ask an archaeologist. Okay, those people are specialized. When we have our specialized people, and those people are not living within this uqdat al-zamb of this is haram and this is haram, and everything that we look at, we say, is this haram? The haram is ayat muhkamat, very limited ayat in the Quran. Okay, the rest, everything is halal. And there are people who have made a business out of tahrim, even though one of the harams, أن تقولوا على الله ما لا تعلمون. So if we go back and we try to bring back Markaz al-Din to the Quran, and we limit al-haram, this way we can be inventive. And by the way, كل بدعة ضلالة, this doesn't apply here, because this is about bid'ah in the deen. But in the معاملات أبدع ما شئت in science, in technology, all these things. أبدع ما شئت, be creative, okay? Has nothing to do with bid'ah. And we want our thinkers not to be shuyukh al-masajid, because shuyukh al-masajid will make us fall into the problem that Allah has warned us about, which is وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. That's one. And those that took أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله, that took their imams and rabbis and priests as gods, and they started listening to them. And this guy says, I listen to this sheikh, and this guy listens to that sheikh. We have to go back and revisit, the way that we look at the world and the way that we look at our lives, because we are really, way behind. I don't need to tell you this, because we all know that. I mean, if you think that I'm just being, negative, not at all. I'm telling you, I'm giving you 3 steps that I think will be the beginning, inshallah, of a solution. So once we start applying that, we can actually start seeing results. Probably not in our lifetime, unfortunately. Probably we need another 100 years. Sayyidina Musa had to go with his people through the Tih, being lost for 40 years. This way, the generation changed, and new blood and new brains and new personalities and new characters came through and started, picking up the deen with fresh eyes. And that's what we need now. We need fresh eyes, because we're still seeing, things from the eyes of Abi Hanifa and Imam Ahmad. Those people are great people, because at their time they gave something new. They offered something new. They made an effort to make the deen better. But they are not the deen, and their thinking is not the deen. We can take what they've offered and what they've given us, analyze it in the context of our Quran, and then move forward with adding to it. That's how life works. Tarakum al-ma'rifah. The knowledge is an accumulation of knowledge, and that's why if you look at anything, you will see that rules change as life goes forward. In 1945, the first time somebody used a nuclear bomb, for example. After that, then you have in 1970 something, you have a treaty for limiting nuclear proliferation, because now there's a need for it. How are we adjusting to life as Muslims? We're adjusting by just saying, we want to go back to the deen. We want to dress like they used to dress in the 7th century, and we want to do things the way that this imam did and that imam did. If we continue to do that, then we will not only stay where we are in relation to where other people are going and getting, we will go back further. So this is my sort of short suggestion for making a difference, and we ask Allah to give us knowledge and to help us benefit from that knowledge. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.